Okay, we have a few folks here. Thank you for joining us. I see students and parents alike. And so the first thing I'm going to do this evening on the 13th, we have some updated numbers reported from the state of Minnesota. And so you also can go to the Department of Health website and see these numbers updated. So again, just in terms of family survey results from July and June, we reference those in making our decisions. There is a safe learning plan from the state of Minnesota. I will click on that link and show you later. The safe learning plan guides all the schools in Minnesota and how to make their decisions. And specifically, the formula that's being used in order to track county level infection data is that infections by county of residence. So even if you tested positive, say in Lake County, way up north, but you reside in Ramsey County, your county of residence would be where that infection is reported. And so what we're looking at here is infections over the total number of cases of 14 days divided by the county population divided by 10,000 equals our rates of case per 10,000. And again, these numbers here are guidance numbers released by the state of Minnesota. So if you're between, say, 0 and 9, 10 and 19, 20 to 29, 30 to 49, or 50 plus, those are different bands in which schools have the ability to make decisions. Specifically, what this means is that if your county case rates are 0 to 9, then you have the ability to be in-person learning for all students, though you don't have a mandate to do so. But if your county, say, is 50 plus, everyone must be in distance learning, and you have to get special permission from the Department of Health and Education in order to operate any more in person than that. And so just looking at our county case rates down here in the bottom left-hand corner, I think it might look better if I make it a little bigger. And it might look even better if I even make it a little bigger than that. And so I'm just gonna zoom all the way in. And so I'm looking at the 7-county metro area. Predominantly most of our students reside among these 7 counties. And what we've done is, over the last 3 weeks since we've been doing these family forums, is we are charting whether or not case rates increased. And so if they are increasing over time, that is increasing viral activity, and we are more likely to do more distance learning type activities, less likely to be in person. And so even just between last week and this week, so again, the data through 7/25 versus the data through 8/1, right now, as of today, this data from 8/1 is the most recently released data. And we see that in 6 of the 7 counties, not good epidemiological news, cases increased. Specifically, what we're looking for at Great River School is to see cases decreasing, and ideally holding a pattern of decrease over several weeks in order to affect our decision to move from distance learning to hybrid. And so specifically also what I'm looking for is to see the percentage by which cases increased. We'd like to see cases increase, frankly, be below 2%. And the case increases that we're still seeing week to week, you know, in Hennepin County, we are below that 2% increase, but not in Ramsey and not in Dakota. And so and definitely not in Scott County. So as we look at all of these, I just want to make sure that folks know that the advice from the Department of Health is that we're using the numbers that are the highest in any of the counties. In any of the counties, for any of the students that attend our school, the county that is the highest would be the number that we use as the first bit of health data to make our decision. And so just so that you understand what's going on, this chart, again, is what we're referring to. As we have increasing viral activity, we're more likely to be doing distance learning. And then again, as we start the school year, our ability, I would say, to implement mitigation strategies starts about here, because we've got to teach each other and ourselves how to wear masks, how to stay socially distant and physically distant from each other, how to operate within the school in a safe way, among all of the other things that we can do before students show up, such as you know, increased airflow and filtration in our HVAC system. Also, making sure we have plans on how to route students through different exterior doors rather than all the same one. We have to still teach that behavior, however. So as we start here and go through the year, we will be more able to implement mitigation strategies. However, that increasing viral activity is the first data point that we're looking at. And again, as you see this chart over here, when numbers start to decrease significantly, you'll start to see some green numbers. some green boxes, and so we'll indicate basically more dangerous activity with red, and we'll indicate more safer activity in terms of viral activity in green. For those of you who are colorblind, we're looking also into patterns. We'll see, but you know, licensed art teacher on your side here. And so that's just the run through for the numbers. For those, a few folks have asked about the Safe Learning Plan. This is a public document available to everybody in the world, but particularly residents of Minnesota. And you can see what the state has given us in terms of guidance. And so specifically, our priorities are what the state has guided, that prioritize the safety of students and staff, that we prioritize in-person learning when we can, especially for younger learners, that we consider infectiousness and transmission rate among different ages, that we support planning, and that we also take into account the disease prevalence of our local area. So specifically, one thing I want to say that I've just had some indirect questions about are points 2 and 3 here in terms of in-person learning, especially for younger learners, and infectiousness and transmission risk among different ages. As a school that houses ages 6 through 18, we also need to be a school that acknowledges that the transmission risk is something that is still being studied scientifically, but we have many siblings who cross lower L, upper L, junior high and senior high, right? Lower adolescent, upper adolescent. And so because we have such, frankly, overlapping populations in terms of families, carpools, neighbors, close friends, we can't have as much control over age groups staying bubbled together as we might like epidemiologically. And so when we do talk about grouping students together as a mitigation strategy, at Gray River School, we acknowledge that that is likely not a most effective or best practice mitigation strategy at our school, because our 7th, 8th, and 9th year students aren't in their own building. And even then, they aren't in their own building all day because they go home often to siblings in other age groups. And so just to touch on that point. So there's your 10-minute sort of update on the scene, and I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but I do see a question in the chat. Will you read me one, Holly?
Yes.
Great, thanks.
As soon as it shows up. It was from Amy.
Oh yeah, I see here.
I see it. A question for about 11th graders. Without the fall trip, how is GRS helping students think about college? And what is the plan for the PSAT, SAT this year? Thank you.
So Amy, excellent question. And specifically around the trips, one thing I suppose that I do want to say is that we are looking at ways to both acknowledge, I guess I would want to say, acknowledge that the key experiences not happening the way they normally are is not something that we're ever going to be able to replace. And so just to frankly start role modeling some healthy grief about that with our students. And also healthy grief does mean acknowledging also that the wonderful key experiences that we went on before and those that we will someday again engage in, with their absence this year, one thing we want to make sure of is that we are thinking, what are the things that key experiences really produced for us? And we do want to design experiences, I would say, that fill in the social connection and the sense of belonging that those trips were designed to create. And so we are thinking and talking about ways to do that. In terms of specific college strategy and thinking about college, the 11th years, I'm sure will engage in some reflective activity this fall. And then also we'll hear at least a couple times from our College Accessibility Director, Teresa Hitchens-Olsen, who will start talking to them about how to consider this year. A lot of seniors this year, I know, have either been reading articles or thinking about how is their college admissions process possibly going to look, since this is a year unprecedented, literally, by any other, meaning that in terms of how colleges are admitting students, we're also looking to work with students who are seniors this year and juniors, frankly, to address the anxiety that students might feel about the unsuredness of their future plans. And so you notice I'm not getting very specific. I just don't want to overpromise, especially over these next couple weeks. For all parents, you will know, I won't get super specific over these next couple weeks until I have affirmed plans from our staff and from our program directors and from folks like Teresa herself. And so I can take this question though and get some more specifics and report back on that. And then I want to just acknowledge also that I do know that the PSAT, SAT, and ACT organizations are looking for ways to facilitate testing that meets epidemiological guidelines. And so we have not yet committed to a way to administer those exams, but what we are doing is looking at how we might prepare to administer those exams, even if we're still under restrictive guidelines from the state and or restrictive guidelines of our own due to health concerns. And so we will be in touch with you about that. And the reason, again, that I'm not giving you specifics is because I want to make sure that our educators really get to affirm and buy into specific plans. One example, though, that I would give about how we're helping students think about both college and the future is consistent now as to what it might have been even before the pandemic, is that we want students to be thinking about meaningful ways that they want to engage in the world. You know, college is many things, but it is not an answer to wondering what you're going to do in the future. And so really engaging in meaningful work in your community, in your neighborhood, and in your family are consistent ways that we think students can prepare for their future after school. And so I just want to touch on the idea that an 11th year student may have, in fact, a little more opportunity right now to really do that reflection than they might have in a typical 11th grade year, where the pace of the schedule and the pressure to do things often, I think, leaves the need to reflect as one of the last attended priorities. So not to get too philosophical there, but 11th year students, if you're watching, you're not worse off than 11th years 3 years ago. In fact, there might be some ways that you get to think about a more healthy lifestyle right now than the folks who were extremely pressured 3 years ago were. So I also look forward to the way that we're going to implement courses for 11th and 12th years this year, likely meaning that because you're going to spend a little more time with guides at a time and a little more time with projects at a time, you might get an idea of what it's like to go a little bit deeper into things, and you also might get a chance to practice those reflective skills in your academic courses. So, so I'll get more specifics to you soon, Amy, but probably not for a couple of weeks, because our teachers, staff are going to start to meet very soon, late this week and early next week, and it'll probably be a week or two that they're really refining and committing to things. All right. Holly, I tried to fit all the kinds of answers I could into that one.
That's nice.
Thanks for asking, Amy. Yep. Any others that you can think of, Holly, that might be on the tip of people's tongues?
Do you remember the email that Karma Walker sent in? About
why don't you find it? And I'm going to say just a couple things also. And then as you find it, you can read it to me. Specifically, I want to let folks know that I believe today, this Thursday, the 13th, is the last Thursday that I'll be doing these family forums. So starting next Tuesday, which is, I believe, do the math, the 18th, that's when I'll be doing a forum, and then I'll be doing another one on the 25th, and another one the following week, which I believe is September 1st. And so we'll just be doing one a week starting then. And then I do believe somewhere right around the 25th and the 1st, I will have more specifics available for folks. And then I want to also speak specifically to a question that I know lots of folks have been asking about: when will I know specifically my family's schedule, or when will I know specifically my students' class schedule? That's another thing that's going to take probably 10 to 14 days from right now, today the 13th, to really tell you more about. And again, that's because we really wanted to know what the state recommended. That was back in the very last couple of days of July. We did do our best to make a decisive communication to you all that will be starting in a distance learning format. And then also specifically, as we made that decision, we've been really respecting and reserving our teacher and staff energy to finalize plans after we knew exactly what the state would be guiding us to do. So just to remind you all of the timelines and the work that's happening. Holly, you got that question from the email in?
I certainly do. Here it is.
Great.
Oh, I do. I have it. Really, I do. It is right here. Oh, where is it?
No,
Here it
really,
is.
it's under this thing. No,
Here
here.
it is, I found it. So we're grateful for our facilities that we have, new building, etc. Everyone has worked hard to make things a reality. I'm hoping that we are up for a challenge. But can you talk about ventilation and the challenge of more rigorous air circulation to keep people that return to campus safe?
Oh yeah, I absolutely can. And you know, in the first moments here, I imagined pulling out a big diagram of our 3 buildings and then starting to chart and show you about all of them. That's something that, you know, I'll talk to Holly outside of this about some sort of production value feedback. But specifically what I can say is that we've been working with 2 contractors and our building manager and this started actually back in June, to go through and put us on basically a tripled ventilation filter replacement schedule, which means 3 times as often we're replacing our filters. So basically there's frankly almost always someone in the building replacing filters. I believe we have over 138 filters in the building. If we do get the opportunity to say do hybrid or an in-person model this year, we will still keep up with that kind of schedule. Secondly, we have opted all of our ventilation controls to be fully open. Usually you would close those controls so that you could frankly keep the air inside cool if you wanted to cool it, or hot if you wanted to heat it. That's how most commercial buildings are designed, so not a whole lot of external air is brought in. Because we have 3 buildings, you'll remember if you've been here for more than 3 years, that we connected our old original building with our neighboring building that we had purchased. And then by putting those 3 together, we now have 3 basically different ventilation systems. That means we have a little bit more intake than a typical commercial building. So we've opened all those vents to bring in as much air as possible, and then also turned on our exhaust fans to full blast to get out as much air as possible. So while it is less efficient in terms of a energy use standpoint, at this point this year, that is our top effective mitigation strategy. We've been also consulting with some firms to demonstrate for us, please tell us your scientific proof that things like ionizers and UV treatment work. We have not seen effective, I would say, data reports that those are effective strategies for a 73,000 square foot building. And specifically, in all of our elementary classrooms down in the what we call Building C on campus, the farthest west building, almost all of those have windows that open to the outside or a door that opens to the outside. So at least in the more temperate months or shoulder season months, we will be able to get more fresh air in that way also. And then Karma, one of the last things is we are consulting right now with both an architect and structural engineer to look at ways in which we can either add or change our ventilation so that we do get more flow from all the rooms. So that's what's happening currently. In terms of a mitigation strategy though, what we do know is that being in one space, or I believe the CDC recommendations currently still are one space for more than 15 minutes with another individual, means that those 2 individuals are more likely to share any kind of contagion. And so specifically, we are looking at ways to limit the different numbers of individuals that are in those spaces, and then to make sure that those spaces' air aren't being shared with other spaces' air in a way that is uncontrolled. And so as we do work through that, though, you should know that that's one of the mitigation strategies that we want to make sure is really effectively in place before we even attempt a hybrid model. Secondly, we have heard from lots of families, and today is the due date. So hopefully all of you have already filled out your survey that you were sent about technology and childcare. And so I believe we have over 80% of our families have filled that survey out. So Holly and I and a few other folks will be really just going out of our way, trying to get the last 15 to 19% of you to fill out that survey and give us that information, because what we want to do is also be able to acknowledge, Karma, in your inquiry, that there are going to be, I believe, somewhere between 60 and 100 students on campus for daily care and supervision. And we are confident that we do have enough mitigation and plan available to safely have those students physically distant at school and following all the same guidelines we've been using since summer camp. So one thing that folks may not know, if you didn't send your child to camp at our campus, or if you as a student were too old for any of our camp programs, we have been successfully running camp on site from ages 4 through 12 and even a little bit older. All the campers by midsummer were wearing masks. It's a little hard to remember, but back in June, the CDC actually gave guidance that masks were not required or recommended for younger students. And in terms of practices and preparing for the school year now, by July, all of our students were wearing masks at camp, and all of our camp leads. And it was, I think, a really successful summer in which there were even some families who had to report that someone they knew or hung out with or had been in the same space with tested positive for COVID, and we were able to implement, I think, really effective communication and then mitigation strategies by acknowledging what we heard, having those folks stay home and get tested, consulting with the Department of Health, and so we're able to practice a lot of the things that I think will keep us safe, safer through the school year too. Any other questions that you can think of, Holly?
I was going to remind everyone of the survey, but you did that. Thank you. What about you, Sam? When will we see you again, other than this kind of interaction?
Right. So just so folks know, I suppose we have reorganized, as of this spring, pretty effectively into very specific roles. And so one of my specific roles is public communication, but it's also still a specific role of mine to make sure that people see me when and where possible and appropriate. And so I was on campus for graduation. And then again, just so folks know, I now live in northern Minnesota. And however, I do make the commute down when needed. And so one of those times actually will be early next week so that I can meet with the good folks who are also getting our campus ready. And we will talk about some strategies, also specifically about constructing some outdoor classroom spaces. And frankly, I got to visit the chickens. I haven't seen them in a long time, and I miss them. Also, I'll be planning to come down. We start new faculty orientation on the 24th of August. We start all faculty return and in-service on the 27th of August. I will be in person on site for those things too. I will be very physically distanced. I will be wearing my mask. I will be, we will be doing as many things outside as possible. I'll probably, frankly, have a raincoat on or with me at all times, and an umbrella, just so we're ready. And then one of the things that I think you should know is that we do still have some staff also that are staying home through the year. So we're planning a hybrid in-service and using a lot of the tools that we'll be using with students, both students who are on site for care to start with the distance learning, but a lot of the strategies that we look forward to making successful as students. So, but like some of your favorite folks, like Holly, are staying connected with you in this community this way, right? But are also choosing to keep themselves safe too by, quarantining themselves and staying home through a global pandemic. And so there's, but we are committed as a school to finding ways for, say, Holly to keep doing all the work that keeps our school running, and then still staffing on site with people who can be there securely, things like opening the front door. So we got a whole team of people as we organize a little bit like that. There's a dog that I have to check on in the Twin Cities too. He's staying with another human, but I told him back in June that I'd check on him. So I'm going to do that too. Okay, well, it's 6:30. Anybody who's here, there are 6 attendees here. I'm just going to give you all maybe 1 or 2 more minutes to throw questions in if you have them. Otherwise, I'll be wrapping up. And I just want to remind folks, I suppose, that every Thursday, data comes out. We look at it very closely. A week from today will be the first of every Tuesday of the week, head of school, 6 to 7 sort of community session like this. And that's the next time I'll see you, but then we'll have new data really to publicly talk about again next. What would that date be, Holly? Today's 13th. The 25th. Yeah, the 25th of August is the next time we'll have new data. And the indicators that you can look for to tell you about how school will be really reminders, the last thing I'll do is I think I will share. Oh, good. Here we go. Can you see that screen still, Holly?
Yes.
Okay, good. The last thing I do, I think I will share and remind everyone of our greatriverSchool.org/return website.
Yes.
And I just want to remind folks that the reason that we made our decision really has to do with training ourselves in on public health and also tracking that data that is still slowly rising in terms of infections per 10,000. But what we'd like to see is the ability, say, by the end of September to make a confident announcement to you all about what we'll be doing on October 19th. So as you hear the news, as you hear about other schools going back, as you hear, frankly, about all the franticness that might be communicated over the next few weeks and months, I specifically want to let people know that we made the decision to regularly, at planned intervals, make announcements so that you won't be wondering week to week what we're doing. It is a pandemic. Pandemics tend to move slowly, more like, you know, earth and rock and less like waves and water and thunderstorms. And so in that way, we want to be looking ahead, and we'll scroll down on this reminder page to remind you about this, which is as the learning model is evaluated, we will be looking at health data throughout September, and at the end of September, likely be making an October 19th announcement. And then we'll be looking at health data again and letting you know toward the end of November, and looking at health data again. And so we won't be switching just the second week of school to something. And that really gives our guides a chance to plan effective ways to build community, gives us a chance to likely establish some small group meetings that are physically distanced outside, and make sure that, you know, in an equitable and accessible way, all of our families can connect with each other also. So this, again, this Great River School/return website is still the best spot for all of the answers to questions. And one thing I haven't done on any of these calls is just give a highlight that at the top here, we're still reemphasizing that we want you to know how we're starting with that big, beautiful graphic, but there are answers to all these questions, such as what assumptions are informing our decision-making, what's our commitment to personal protective equipment, social distancing, and disinfectant policies, how can we help at home? And so when you click on one of these answers, it takes you down to the spot on the page where those answers are. And right now, I just want to remind folks, we do have an active mask-making campaign going on. Thank you to Jenny Bowling, one of the parents who is organizing that. And then also, we've made a little infographic here that you're welcome to print or copy or hand write out, just to let you know we got to hear from you to make this work this year. We want you to be practicing physical distancing outside of school. Please, everybody, staff and students and families alike, if you got any signs of illness, you're going to stay home. We want you to stay connected with us, and specifically, we're looking to make 100% contact with survey results. So there will be another survey in the next couple weeks that asks people who asked for childcare and or technology to really have a back and forth with us, so we really make sure we get you what you need. But there will be also another survey likely just before school starts, so we can get questions from you as families and make sure that we're informing everyone else too. So, you know, let's use positive peer pressure to fill out surveys, because we're not going to sell your information. We're going to use it to make school better. And then we're just trying to give you a reminder of what you can focus on at home. And then just also another reminder that all of the previous forums are posted here too. And so I won't be self-conscious. My kids have been challenging me to shave my beard. We'll see if it happens. So, you know, not everybody wants me to do that. But you can look down and see all of the different video introductions we've been giving and questions and answers we've been answering. And so with that, I think I will say thank you to everyone who has attended. And Holly,
I do have
what would you
one
like
more
to tell us?
thing.
Oh yeah, tell me.
I heard on the news last night that flu shots are going to be available through September and October. And I would encourage everyone to get a flu shot to protect people like me who are at risk, not at hope. I'm at risk because of the way my body is built. So if you can, if you believe in it, please get a flu shot. Join me in getting a flu shot.
All right. Thank you, Holly. So that public health message, I think, is one that is going to be maybe unique this year for folks to be considering. We in fact, last year, I don't know if anyone remembers December 2019, but there was quite a heavy duty flu season. And then on top of that, one thing that I know folks are going to be thinking about is, as we enter cold and flu season, aren't we even less likely to be going back to school in person? And that's a question I've fielded several times outside of these meetings. No one's asked here yet, but I think I'll use your suggestion, Holly, just to touch on, I think that health and wellness, physical health, respiratory wellness are going to be something that possibly you and your family and your students could have some anxiety about coming into the year. And so I would encourage everyone to talk about the ways that we can take care of each other and ourselves. One of them is, if you are a well person who can get, say, a flu shot, maybe explaining that theory about how if everybody is a little more immune, it helps people who can't be more immune. That herd immunity idea. Also, one thing to explain, I think, is how other approaches to being well, getting enough rest, eating well, exercising, making sure that your body feels well and you know how you're feeling. Those are going to be things that I think if we practice those things now when it's not cold and flu season, they're not going to feel quite as dramatic or different in October, November, December, when there will, we know many of us will have little bouts of fever and or other little viruses. Many of us may have bigger bouts of fever and other illnesses like the flu. And I think that thing can be really scary if you haven't already been talking as a family about how you can stay well. So that wellness chart that I just showed is a good approach. And then I suppose I'll just close, unless you got something else, Holly.
That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for that message. I suppose we'll just close tonight with a reiteration of something I said a couple weeks ago. And I mean, I rarely go on Facebook, everybody. I don't even know how to get there. That's not really true. But I'm rarely there. But something I heard that I said has been transmitted there that I want to reemphasize is the idea that we are living through something dramatically different than what was happening in the world a year ago, particularly on this continent and in this nation. And I would implore all adults to consider that just as your adolescence was not the same as your child's adolescence 6 or 8 or 12 months ago, students who are adolescents, students who are kids, students who are young adults, your childhood right now is no less well off because of this experience. And I know that doesn't sound right. It sounds, in fact, what do you mean? You're living through something different that informs your life. And no time has been like this before. And there's still some things that are beautiful about right now. And your life right now, as you're living through this time, is not only going to be better informed for the future, but there are some things that you are knowing and finding out right now as an elementary kid, as a lower adolescent or upper adolescent kid, or as a young adult, that I didn't get to find out when I was a kid. And so hopefully will inform us better on how to make a better, safer, more peaceful world for each other, like tomorrow, and a long time from now too. But the world is still a place worth living in. And even though, you know, I haven't seen Holly physically in a long time, and it's heartbreaking for me, even though we can't be at school in person the way we want to be on September 8th, this is a time that is worth practicing the practice of loving the world and of being grateful. And that is not just saying you're grateful for your puppy or your dog or the sprout on your windowsill or, you know, the video game that might get you through hard times. It's actually saying, what is the thing I'm going to work at appreciating, you know? And so that might sound a little oblique. And so I suppose I just wanted to mention it because I have heard in the past couple of days, you know, folks that I don't know hardly at all, I'm just meeting for the first time, are saying things like, I'm just so sad for the teenagers, or I'm just so sad for the kids. And I just guess I want to say, hey kids, teenagers, I'm sad, but I'm not sad for you. And I think we could get through this thing. Okay, so that's all I want to say. Holly, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, because you mentioned gratefulness, I just want to add that one thing I learned from practice when I was getting a master's degree was that gratitude increases your serotonin, which increases your feel betterness.
That's true.
Yeah. So maybe we can all have a gratitude journal.
Yeah. All right. I like that. Well, I am thankful for the folks who have joined us tonight, for the folks who are watching this otherwise. And frankly, every student at Great River School, I was just looking through your pictures the other day. And those students who are not here yet to join us, I look forward to having your pictures to look at soon too. And again, as we get closer to the school year, many more concrete details. But if you got questions you'd like me to prepare to answer, maybe before next Tuesday's call, like you do want to see a chart of the building or something, please send that in and we'll see what kind of fun things we could produce. So thanks, Holly. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody.
See you.
Bye now.